hakutsushita or hakimashita. Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality bestseller, and it's time for one of those fun little life update videos. But on the plus side, there is an actual thing I've been doing with my life recently that you might actually be interested in an update on. A couple of reasons. Number one, YouTube being YouTube, I've just been pushing to try and get the reviews out, and the last one didn't do so good, and I was feeling like, okay, I gotta hammer the next one by Wednesday, and then I realized that if I were to do that, it wouldn't really be that good. Maybe it would do well, but I want it to be good and do well. Not just, this might work, maybe, I don't know, the algorithm might be happy. I also have to be happy, you understand? So I decided to actually take my days off this week instead of doing another week of not doing that. But besides that, there is a reason why the reviews have been a little bit harder for me to get done quite as on time. I'm still fitting this into my schedule. I've been throwing myself at this and that thing. If you're gonna follow me on Twitter, you've probably already heard about this. If you have checked with the last Live and Wired, you already heard about this. But in case not, hey, I'm learning Japanese. So why exactly did I decide suddenly at 40 years old, hey, you know what, I'd really like to go ahead and start the path down learning one of the hardest languages for a native English speaker to pick up? Well, long story short, I'm a weeb. It's just how it is, and I'm gonna have to fully embrace that if I'm going to be able to truly love myself. The long story is that in my late teens, I already wanted to learn Japanese. There's the idea of like, hey, there's, other people learning, there's other languages that they teach you in high school. It's German, French, Spanish. And I was there like, you know what? I'm a weeb. I'd really like to learn Japanese. But unfortunately at the time, I didn't exactly have a big supportive social circle. Everyone told me that I was an absolute idiot for wanting to learn Japanese because the only thing that I could possibly get any use out of for learning a second language would probably be something like Spanish, because so many people speak Spanish. And who am I gonna run into in America who speaks Japanese and doesn't speak English? So that didn't get me to learn Spanish, that just got me to stop learning Japanese because I felt very discouraged from it. It was August 25th. August 25th. It was the year anniversary of the release of Earth Defense Force 6 in Japan. Earth Defense Force, in case you don't know, is my favorite game series of all time. Last game that I was really looking forward to that was Japan first, and they said maybe it'll come to America later, sometime down the road, was Phantasy Star Online 2, and that took 8 years. So who knows, but either way, what am I going to do when Earth Defense Force 7 comes out, huh? Am I going to have to wait another year plus for that? No, I do not think so. I think I should be fluent in Japanese by then. So that comes up to the question, how am I going to be going about this? What am I going to be doing? Because there are so many guides online in the wonderful 21st century that we currently inhabit. So many ways, and and Japanese is difficult, and the promise of we'll make it easy it's kind of like selling diet supplements. Like, you're not actually expecting half this stuff to work now, are you? I tried going for a few things that, I heard about Duolingo, of course, but I never really got into that because there were too many people saying this is great, but this is terrible. So I don't know, I just got turned off of Duolingo from the get-go. At my stage in Japanese, I'd probably be able to learn quite a bit from it, but I'm also not too enthused on dropping money down on something that I'm not going to really get a lot out of, potentially. Mochi Mochi was an idea, but I quickly ran into an issue where the free trial, I only had access to a very small amount of actual, tests and, here, you're learning this, you're learning that. I did learn an incredibly small amount, but there was also just so many problems I was having. Because I didn't have that big of a pool of things to test me on, a lot of it's like, it's golden hour, it's time for you to check back and see how you did. I'd look and it would have a question entirely in kanji, hiragana, and katakana that I could not read. with a blank space, and then it would say, like, what does this, or what goes in here, or what does this mean, and then it would have a list of things, and I wouldn't, it'd be entirely in kanji, katakana, and hiragana. I wouldn't be able to read any of them. But I could recognize the one and only one that it actually had ever told me about before, so it got to the point where when that question came up, I ignored the question entirely, ignored what it was asking me to find, and just looked at the answers and poked the one that looked familiar, and I had a 100% success rate in getting that one right. I wasn't learning a thing. So I deleted that app. I also got Kawaii Dungeon, which was this little mobile game that was supposed to teach you hiragana, maybe katakana later, I'm not sure. I didn't get all that far in that because it was absolutely mobile game first with all of the mobile game trappings. It had all the little sounds and animations. And it's like, yeah, it's setting up like, here's your little RPG, answer the questions right to continue on. But oh, it was so aggressive with the mobile game, free mobile game ads. The thing I remember most from Kawaii Dungeon is that I can download TikTok anytime I want to get access to these little potato chip videos. Like, that's the thing that it hammered most into my head, was the ads for TikTok. It's like, A-I-U-E-O. Please, which symbol is this? What symbol does this romanji go to? Hear this sound, which is this? And that, and there you go. You're getting your A-I-U-E-O down. Now here comes Kakikokeko, and we'll work on with that. But I just was so bombarded with TikTok ads. It's like, it's only $8 to remove the ads. It's like, yeah, but the rest of the mobile game trappings of this I really do not like. So I deleted Kawaii Dungeon. And then I still, first and foremost, one of the things I really wanted to do. Well, okay, there was another game I got, actually. Another game I got that actually wasn't bad. That one was for the Oculus Quest, called Noun. And it's a kind of general purpose language learning. It doesn't specifically focus on Japanese. There are some hitches in performance in certain areas or doing certain things in Noun that I'm pretty sure I would not encounter if I were playing it on PC through virtual desktop and getting that wirelessly to the headset. So, yeah, live and learn. But mostly I found Noun works really well for building vocabulary. But at the same time, a lot of the vocabulary built into it is like, here's a plate, it is a sara, and it shows the kanji for sara. And there you go, plate, sara. And you have the guys coming up and they ask them for sara, and you grab the sara and you give them the sara, and it's like sara, and you know sara. It repeats that enough times. Yes, you got that down. And then it's teaching you biru, which you can guess what that is. It's beer. And yeah, there is the specific way that you say it in Japanese. You still have to effectively learn these things, but it does feel less like you're making as great of progress when, oh, what words did I learn today? Biru, desato, keki, tobacco, stuff like that, chicken, and it's just all of that juice felt a bit more like I was making real progress when I learned nomimono, or gyuniku, or butaniku, stuff like that. Gyunyu I already knew, that was one that I learned way back when. But, you know, there's that. I haven't yet got into deeply with pitch accent. I know it's a thing. I know if I want to be able to sound like a native speaker, it's something that I'm going to need to get into at some point at least. I'm going to have to keep that in mind and recognizing that mostly what I've been learning besides Noun. Noun is great for vocab building, but it still wasn't great for learning to read, which is one thing that I always feel like is a big step in comprehending a language. Is because I half of what I do is, you know, through text anyway. So, like, I'm not going out and chatting it up with Japanese speakers. I'm encountering like stuff. I'm looking to play a video game in Japanese. Understanding the story as they say it to me is important, but being able to navigate the menus to get there in the first place, arguably a lot more important. So that is when we come to the app that I actually feel is fantastic and really worth the money. That would be Kanji Study, right here. So I see I've been on a streak for a while there. 30 days. That's about when I started this. I guess I started on Kanji Study about 2 days after I started on Noun. But it took me about a week studying in Kanji Study. The kana, did the flashcard study, the writing challenge with the guide, and the multiple choice questions. Took me about a week of that every morning and every evening for katakana and hiragana, and I got katakana and hiragana to the point where I could do the multiple choice S rank. I could get it 100%. I'm still working on being able, now I'm doing the writing challenge without the guide. So it's like, hey, how do you draw sa in hiragana? And I'm gonna have to be there like, and, wait, no. Gotta get the stroke order right. It's very important. There's a lot here in Kanji Study. And it also includes, like, in the free version that I'm still using, you have the entire katakana, the entire hiragana, you got the kanji radicals, excuse me, and you also get, like, the first grade 80 kanji that's, you start Japanese school learning. That's in there as part of the free trial. Like I said, I've been using this for a month. I haven't paid a cent. And I'm absolutely going to be spending the $30 to upgrade. 15, 30, I think it's 15 for the basic upgrades, but 30 if you want to get like the expansion and everything. Like, the price is technically pretty steep for a app, but this is a fantastic app. It's no frills. You are learning. It has everything you need, and you get that down really good. And I'm learning a lot. It taught me how to read at least hiragana and katakana, which, if you know anything about written language in Japanese, involves a whole lot of kanji, which means effectively I am still functionally illiterate. So that's where studying the rest of the kanji comes in very handy, which it's also going to help with, so there's that. As you progress in learning the kanji, the quizzes it gives you every day on it get more and more complicated. If it ranks you at like 15% of a kanji known, then it'll be like, here's the kanji, what it looks like, here's the kanji's meaning, here's the sound, here's it in a sentence, here's a whole lot of tips, now here's a multiple choice question, pick the right one. Once you start getting to like 40, 50% ranked as known in that, it'll wait a while longer before it quizzes you again. But also when it brings up the quiz, it'll be like, okay, it should go here in this word that means this. Please draw it with the proper stroke order and get it right quickly. Otherwise, you don't know it too well, and it's gonna decrease the percentage of this and we'll bring it back later with an easier question to help hammer it back home. So, feels kind of bad when I get it wrong, but at the same time, I'm gonna get a chance to correct myself, and if I don't know it, then I don't know it. Kanji Study is great for learning to read and write. Nountown is great for building vocabulary, at least for like about 500 or so words, and when half of the words are things like chocoretto. But I still felt like I was missing a big part in comprehension, which is grammar. And for that, I just went straight to the textbooks and picked up Genki. And yes, I know there's problems in Genki. Everyone knows if you learned Japanese from a textbook, when you speak Japanese, it sounds like you learned it from a textbook. But also, everyone who says, what's the best textbook out there to learn Japanese from? It's Genki. So I got the 3rd edition here. I got the workbook to go along with it. And I have been working on writing stuff down as best I can. I got a lot of things. Some of them not quite right. I do the tests over again, check my answers. I'm like, crap, and I really messed that one up. And I'm not yet to its level, but I also picked up short stories for Japanese learners, level 1. This is the lowest level it goes, and I am still, like, I know katakana and hiragana. This has furigana, which is the hiragana that it shows, like, really small above the kanji, so that if you don't know kanji, you can still technically read it. So I can technically read this. I can make the sounds. Like, are, yusuke wa kutsushita o hakimashita. Like, I struggle a lot reading, but I can. All I know about this, kutsushita means socks. I learned that from Noun. Are is like that over there. So, I learned that from Genki. So I can read this, but I don't comprehend most of it, which means I'm not going to learn that much from reading it, except get better at reading. Like, the more I read, the more natural, the more I can be like, okay, yeah, here it is, bum, 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 bum. And so there's still some benefit to that. And I also picked up on Steam Ni no Kuni because it was $10. So it was on a bit of a sale recently, $10 for that. Yes, it's on Game Pass as well, but downloading it on Xbox or on the from the Windows Store on Game Pass there, it's really hard to get it to actually be the Japanese version. I think I'd have to set my computer to Japanese and all that, and I have to set my Xbox to Japanese, and maybe that would work, and even then, I'm not certain. Like, I tried setting my Xbox to Japanese and loading it up, and it was still entirely in English text, and the option to set it to Japanese language, which you could do in just the English version anyway. Steam, right-click it, select language, set Japanese, boom, the whole thing's in Japanese. Lots of games you can do that too. I did that Borderlands 2, but I'm not really using Borderlands 2 as a learning tool because I played Borderlands 2 so much I don't have to, I could be playing it in Russian and doing perfectly fine. I don't have to understand anything. So, yeah, that's the thing. I feel Ni no Kuni, being able to comprehend what's going on will help a lot more in that game than something like Borderlands, where I've played it a bunch of times. I don't need to comprehend it. I already know what to do. Not needing to comprehend anything and being able to comprehend so little, it's not going to help me all that much right now. And I've been looking at YouTubers, of course, in my journey. There's Tokini Andy. He's kind of a native English speaker, speaks Japanese, uses Genki to teach. So he's kind of like the angle that I understand the most. But there's also, is it the Japan man Yuta, is it? I can't quite remember, but he's kind of the opposite direction. He's a native Japanese speaker who learned English, and he teaches Japanese to native English speakers. And so he's got a whole other perspective, and I kind of don't agree with him as much on certain topics in terms of learning Japanese as I do with Tokini Andy. Tokini Andy seems to be more like that. It's more like I'd agree with his angle on certain things. I can't remember the exact thing, so I sound like I'm just making stuff up right now. But I still want the other perspective because there is still value to that knowledge. And of course, just for general yuck nut up, watch Sora the Troll. Yeah, I don't understand most of that, but it's funny. It's all just to learn. I'm just on a quest for knowledge. A quest for knowledge. Fill my head with as much Nihongo as I can. That's one of the few. I know jagaimo, potato, ebi, shrimp, suika, watermelon. Just basic things like that. Most of what I got down real good I got from Nountown because that's what I was doing the most, and its way of building up your vocabulary is pretty good. I'm towards the end game right now, and there are issues like the weather game to learn different kinds of weather. Unfortunately, it does the weather while you're learning the words, but this Quest 2 cannot handle that too well, and it really chugs, and in VR, when the frame rate drops to the 10s, it's a bad time. And then there's the game for learning the names of occupations, which is just a very confusing game in the first place because it gives you 6 objects and you're supposed to grab 2. It shows you the name of the occupation in Japanese. So if you already know what it is, then you might know what the objects to grab. Otherwise, you're just getting things at random. And then after a few failed attempts, it'll just tell you the name in English. So even then, I have a hard time figuring out which objects it wants me to put 2 together to make that thing. There are certain occupations where it was telling me what they were, and I was grabbing objects like, don't these go together, don't that go together? And it was like, no, everything's wrong. And I had just ended up skipping it because I had no idea what it wanted. And then when it comes to the revision game for that one, it's like, oh, here's a little thing to throw that job at the bot that is malfunctioning, but you have to throw it at the one of that job to get it right, or you just take damage, or you lose points. You use the destroy ball to destroy a bot that's, if you can't figure it out. But in the meantime, it's telling me, oh, it's chef, throw it at the chef. And they're looking for the thing, and here comes the flight attendant, here comes the office worker, here comes the unemployed bot, and the chef is absolutely nowhere. They're coming one at a time, like there's nowhere for the other one to hide. So I either have to wait for it to come and take damage from me, or I take the other ball and throw it at it, and I lose points anyway. So I'm in a lose-lose situation here because it won't give me the bot for the word that I have. And it's just a very frustrating thing, but that's like far end game kind of stuff. It's like the end game really needs some work for Noun Town, I'm afraid. They are still working on the game, of course, but there's just some frustrations there where still, for the most part, the vocabulary building up to the first 500 words, I've had a lot of fun with it. Learning questions to talk with islanders and stuff is a lot more awkward and difficult to pick up. Learning the verbs, again, is also kind of awkward and difficult to pick up. Sometimes the voice recognition doesn't really go so well, so for really short words that are very simple, it will constantly say you got that wrong because it didn't hear anything or it thinks you're saying something completely different. Like copper, do. It kept saying that I was saying do or saying nothing at all and just marking it as wrong as I'm there shouting into the thing, do, do, do. And then there's longer phrases like big questions and stuff, talking to islanders and such. And I know I mess something up, I trip over my tongue, I say the wrong thing, and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta re-say that. And there's like, that was correct, moving on. It's got issues in both directions. Mostly it's good, but it can have some hiccups. So you gotta know where there are the little problems with it. But mostly, I mean, for $15, I got a whole lot of knowledge out of Noun Town, and that has helped me through my Genki, and that has assisted quite a bit in general. So I'm still figuring out a lot of I'm still learning a lot of the grammar. I can hardly string together a very basic sentence, mostly based on the stuff that I already knew for a while. Like, Jigaima wa doku desu ka? Where are the potatoes? Where? So that's what I've been doing, like hours every morning and every evening, and I've been just getting distracted in the middle of editing, turning on like YouTube videos about learning Japanese this way or that way. Then there's the whole angle of immersion learning, which I've seen people who swear by it. They're like, immersion is the only thing you need. I tried for 2.5 years, studying hard for 3 hours every single day, and I just never got fluency. But then as soon as I started immersion, it just all worked out. And it turns out all that studying was pointless. And people don't... It's like, you should be able to see the clear problem right there, is they had that huge base to start from before they went immersion. And, oh look, they understand things. And they're discounting the entirety of their lessons and studying. And there's people who I've seen who are trying, like, I'm gonna go full immersion. That seems to be the best strategy. So they're not studying at all, and they're going full on nothing but immersion, and their progress is achingly slow, and it's just not going anywhere. And then after a bit of time, those that do show some progress, when they say what they've done, every single time, if there's someone who's showing progress, who says they're going full immersion, it's because they broke down and started studying. They got some flashcards together, they got some lessons trying to hammer some actual knowledge into their head so they can understand all this stuff they've been immersed in for months and got nothing out of. So, immersion input is very important when it comes to actually gaining fluency. Like, I do not believe that you can just sit here with the textbooks and study everything and pass the JPLT N5, N4, N3, N2, N1 and be like, boom, that's it. I am now fluent and just have no problems. You're gonna need the input. You're going to need to immerse effectively at some point. But I'm going at this with as many prongs as I can, from as many angles as I can, and people around me are surprised at how far I've come in a month, but I feel like, a vocabulary of about 500 is not as impressive when half of it is stuff like suitcase. Sumaho is one where I'm personally kind of proud of, that I finally picked that up. I finally am recognizing in my head sumaho. Yeah, I know what a sumaho is. It's a smartphone. It should sound like, oh yeah, of course, smartphone. But it's one that's in katakana, so it's a foreign word, but it's just so different from the word it's supposed to be that it took me so long to pick that up. But terebi, you should know that's television. Toire, toilet, both in terms of the bathroom. It's not really the bathroom. That room doesn't have a bath in it. It has a toilet in it. It's a toire, and the toire itself. But yeah, there's just toiletto paper. You know what that is? Yeah, that's not one to be too proud of. Denshirenji, on the other hand, Denshirenji, the microwave. It's easier when you realize that denki, electricity, is a part of that is kind of used in a lot of electrical applications and words for Japanese. Like a danwa is telephone, denshirenji, microwave. Dengen konsento is an electrical outlet. Dentaku is an electrical pocket calculator. I'm hoping to get more of that, and the more I learn, like I find more similarities, more things that can just kind of, I can learn one thing and it can apply to a lot of other things, which is why I'm going for the grammar really hard. But yeah, as far as where I'm at in Genki, I'm sort of around lesson 3-ish, and I've had the Genki for, I'd say, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, I'm not sure. It took a while before the Genki arrived. I mostly was doing Noun Town and kanji study for the beginning. But yeah, that's about where I'm at in my Japanese. So I've got a long road ahead. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But yeah, the biggest key in learning a language has been repeated as motivation. And that's what killed me the first time, is that I was trying to learn and everyone around me was doing their best to kill my motivation, and well, they did. But now I'm just like, you know what? I want this, and I'm going to do it. It's going to take a while, but I'm going to do it.